Billionaire discovered a little girl's empty lunchbox. What he found inside was life-changing. Jack Davis was the king of Wall Street, a corporate titan whose name was synonymous with wealth and power. At 42, he ruled over New York City's skyline, gilded offices overlooking a city that pulsed with life, while he remained locked in his bubble of opulence. As autumn's chills settled in, the vibrant leaves danced, coating the park outside his office in shades of gold and scarlet. One day, after yet another grueling board meeting, Jack needed some fresh air. He strolled through the park, confident in his tailored suit, when something caught his eye. An abandoned lunchbox sat forlornly on a bench. Curiosity piqued, he approached it, and with a gentle tug, he opened the lid. Inside, he found not a half-eaten sandwich, but a letter beautifully handwritten on crinkled paper. The letter was from an 8-year-old girl named Mia. As he read her words, Jack felt his heart clench. Mia detailed her dreams of becoming a doctor to help cure her mother, who was sick and struggling. He learned of the heart-wrenching choices this little girl made, trading her school lunches for her family's bills, her innocent face wearing a brave smile yet battling uncertainty. Jack's vision blurred as he absorbed her sacrifices, the depth of her hope igniting an unexpected stir within him. How could this be? He mumbled, feeling the weight of his own decisions drape over him like a heavy cloak. The opulent parties, the exquisite dining experiences, felt like a facade next to Mia's innocent plea for help. The pain of their two worlds crashing together hit him like a tidal wave. Determined to act, Jack devised a plan to support Mia's family anonymously. He envisioned paying their bills, helping them stay afloat. But as he started this clandestine journey, he faced resistance from his board members and friends. "You shouldn't meddle with the lives of the less fortunate," they scolded. Jack's stomach knotted as he grappled with their objections, weighing his business-savvy instincts against a newly found compassion sparked by Mia's words. As tensions mounted, Jack stood at a crossroads. Would he remain an untouched billionaire? Or would he step into the messy world of responsibility? He glanced at the New York skyline, built by people who scraped and sacrificed for their dreams. Mia's family faced foreclosure, looming darkness threatening to snuff out their hopes any moment. One evening, standing at the edge of the decision that could alter everything, Jack made an unexpected choice. He revealed himself at a community meeting, heart racing, adrenaline coursing through him. There, in front of those seeking change, he shared his desire to publicly support Mia's family. He wouldn't hide anymore. As he spoke, the atmosphere buzzed with anticipation, igniting fierce debates on wealth and inequality. In the back, Mia listened, her wide eyes searching for connection. Jack's vulnerability sparked a flame began to light in the room, yet a chasm lay between them. What surged within her, hope or trepidation? Their eyes finally locked, a silent promise bursting between them. They were at the edge of understanding, both holding their breaths. Would Jack break down the barriers separating their worlds? Or would fear of vulnerability shackle him back into silence? The room buzzed like a live wire as Jack finished speaking. The tension was palpable, and for a moment it felt as though time had stopped. Mia's heart raced. She had spent so long hiding her worries, swallowing her fears, even ignoring the rumble of her belly. Now the man in front of her, the man with power and influence, had laid bare his intentions. Jack scanned the crowd, faces painted with disbelief and suspicion. "Why would a billionaire care about our struggles?" whispered a woman in the front. The murmur swelled, but Jack pressed on, his voice steady. "Because we all deserve a chance to dream, to live without the weight of the world on our shoulders." He could feel Mia's eyes on him, and it gave him strength. She sat among the crowd, small but radiant, drawing energy from the courage she didn't know she possessed. Jack spoke of his plans to fund community initiatives, to bridge the gap between those who had and those who had not. Yet, he was painfully aware that action spoke louder than words. As he continued to address the community, he caught glimpses of Mia's face lighting up when others shared their stories. Each tale of struggle struck chords deep within him. A single mother juggling 2 jobs, an elderly couple facing exorbitant medical bills, children who often went without dinner. Their truths poured out like healing balm. But there was still something holding Mia back. She listened intently, but did she believe he could really help? He could see it etched on her face, a mixture of hope and fear, dream and doubt. The raw tug of their connection lingered in the air, filled with unspoken potential. Jack's heart ached. He wanted to reach out to bridge that distance, but how could he prove that he meant it? After the meeting, a group of locals gathered to discuss the next steps, while Jack took a moment to breathe. He stepped outside for fresh air, a wave of anxiety washing over him. Could he truly change lives? Would they accept his help? Perhaps the greatest challenge lay ahead, gaining the trust of those who had learned the hard way that promises often broke. In a quiet corner of the park, moments later, he saw Mia sitting alone on a swing, gliding softly back and forth like a cautious pendulum. His heart leaped. This was his chance, and he approached her, slowing down as he neared. She looked up, uncertainty painted on her face, her small hands gripping the chains tightly. "Hey Mia," Jack began, his voice softer now, stripped of the public bravado. "I saw you in there. You did great." She hesitated, biting her lip. "Do you really mean it? Are you sure you can help?" Her voice was barely a whisper, full of innocence and need. Jack knelt beside her, the playground buzzing around them with laughter and life. "I want to help. I really do. But it's not just about money. It's about us working together." He felt the weight of her gaze, and it both terrified and inspired him. "If you'll let me, I want to be part of your story. I want to support your dreams." Mia's eyes filled with a mix of hope and skepticism. Did she dare believe this man who had everything could actually care about her little lunchbox and her big dreams? The play of sunlight on her face seemed almost ethereal, her dreams whispering alongside the rustling leaves. But before Mia could respond, a distant drone of angry voices broke through their moment. Tension crackled in the air once more. This time from within the crowd they had left behind. Jack felt the anxious knot return to his stomach as he turned to see a group of protesters gathering nearby, demanding accountability from those they deemed guilty of forgetting their struggles. "Jack," one of his board members called from the meeting, panic in his voice. "We need you." As he stood frozen between the weight of his new commitment and the pull of his old life, Jack knew he stood at yet another crossroads. The fire of change and demand sparked in the crowd, and he couldn't help but wonder which path he would choose. Would he find the courage to step forward into the life he wanted, or would he retreat to the safety of his billionaire existence? Mia's face turned serious as she watched him, her hope mingling with anxiety. With the community in turmoil, would Jack find his way to unite their worlds, or would he be lost in the fray? Jack's mind raced as he watched the chaos unfold. The protesters gathered like storm clouds, their anger palpable. Each shout was like a string tugging at him, pulling him in different directions. He felt the ache of responsibility weighing him down. Behind him, Mia's hopeful gaze pierced through the noise, urging him to choose the right path. "Jack!" His board member shouted again, urgency lacing the man's tone. "If you don't handle this, the situation will escalate. We can't afford bad press." Jack stood there torn. He had entered the community promising to help, to bring change. But now his own world was colliding with theirs in a way he hadn't anticipated. Did he dare step back into his old life? Could he really face those people, his wealth and status displayed against their raw need? "I'll be right there," he called back, his mind still focused on Mia. She looked small against the growing unrest, her swing swaying gently as if she were trying to maintain balance in everything around her. "Mia," he said, kneeling down to meet her eye level again. "I need you to trust me. I'll come back." Her eyes softened, but doubt lingered. "What if they don't want you here? What if I was wrong to believe?" Jack felt a stab of guilt. "Believe in the work, not in me, at least for now. I'll fight for this community," he promised. "Can you do that?" He could see the gears turning in her mind. He could feel the quiet strength rising behind her uncertain exterior. "Okay," she whispered finally, her voice brave even as fear lingered. Taking a deep breath, Jack turned away from the swing, his gut churning with uncertainty. As he moved back toward the crowd, he thought about all the promises he had made and how easy it had been to say them, standing on that stage. Promising change was one thing, but putting it into action was a different beast altogether. The shouts grew louder as he approached. A group of protesters held signs with slogans demanding accountability and transparency. Their faces were fierce, and for a moment Jack felt small and insignificant, a dollar sign standing in front of a sea of frustration. "Hey!" he shouted, raising his hands, trying to quiet the noise. "Let us talk about this." He saw eyes turn toward him, skepticism etched on their faces. They had been let down before, he could tell. The last thing they wanted was another empty promise. Yet he could feel Mia's presence like a warm light behind him, and that thought lent him courage. I came here today looking to make a difference, Jack said, his throat tight but his voice steady. But I'm just as accountable as anyone else here. Let us find a way to work together. I'm listening. A young man stepped forward, his face flushed with anger. You're saying that now, but what about the people who have come before you? What did they actually do for us? Jack felt the heat of anger ripple through the crowd. I understand that this isn't easy to swallow, but I need you to know that I want to be here for you. I want to understand your fight. Will you give me that chance? The crowd paused, and he could see the resistance glazing over their faces. A moment passed and then one voice broke the silence. How can we trust you? Jack took a deep breath. He could feel the weight of it all, every judgment, every doubt surfacing as the eyes of the crowd bore into him. He thought of Mia back on the swing, of her hope and skepticism entwined. Let me show you, he responded, the words tumbling out before he could overthink them. Give me time and I'll deliver. I promise to be here every step of the way. You will know me by my actions. The young man hesitated, and for a heartbeat, the sea of faces remained tense and expectant. But Jack could feel a shift, a crack in the wall of skepticism surrounding him. It was faint but palpable, and it ignited a spark of hope in his chest. Just then, Mia's voice floated through the crowd, clear and sincere, despite the chaotic energy. Maybe we can all take a chance. If we give each other a chance. Jack turned, his heart swelling with pride as he caught sight of her stepping forward, small but resolute. Would this new alliance hold? Would they truly bridge the divide? As the clouds of doubt swirled, Jack felt that the real test was only just beginning. Jack felt the atmosphere shift slightly. There was a flicker of hope in those hardened faces, and he seized the moment. He glanced at Mia, her eyes shining with courage. It was contagious. He gestured to the young man, trying to connect. What's your name? Jack asked, softening his tone. Chris, the young man said cautiously, still eyeing Jack with distrust. Thank you, Chris. I appreciate you stepping forward. Jack took a step closer, lowering his voice a notch so that only a few could hear. I want to hear your stories. I don't have all the answers, but I promise to listen. Murmurs rippled through the crowd again. But this time they were different. Curiosity colored them instead of anger. Why should we share our stories with you? Chris challenged, but there was less rage behind his words now. Jack searched the faces in front of him. He felt the heat of their stories, hidden behind their walls. Because every person here matters. I'm not here to take. I want to understand. If you'll give me that chance, I can help. Together, we can build something that works for you. Silence permeated the crowd for a moment, and Jack thought about the weight of his own privilege. It wasn't just about charity. It was about partnership. Hope flickered again, igniting the atmosphere. As if sensing the shift, a woman called out, What do we get in return? We've been promised change before, Jack. Jack nodded, his heart racing. Right. I can't offer guarantees, but I can commit to showing up. If you invest your trust in me, I'll work tirelessly to earn it back. Let us create a plan together. A soft murmur began, some voices rising, expressing their skepticism, others allowing a slight glimmer of hope to emerge. Jack could feel the crowd's energy change again. The tension began to dissolve, leaving space for potential. Just then, Bombas, the community elder who had been quietly observing, stepped forward, his grayed hair catching the sunlight. Trust isn't given lightly. Prove your sincerity. Actions speak louder than words. Jack nodded knowingly. I understand. I want to meet with each of you, hear your stories, learn what you need. And I want to do it in your space, not mine. Would you allow that? A breath of hesitation rippled through the crowd. Jack's heart beat faster as he waited. I think we need to see you put your money where your mouth is, Chris spoke again, taking a bold step forward. Let us see you help out. Show us what you can do without us having to follow. All right, Jack said, feeling the weight of the challenge. Let us start this weekend. I'll volunteer wherever you need me. I'll clean up, work alongside you, and face whatever tasks arise. I just ask that you give me your time and trust in return. Murmurs grew louder, faces still wary but now engaged. The air felt thick with possibility. Mia, still at the edge, smiled at Jack, her faith radiating just enough warmth to encourage him further. "See?" she whispered to a nearby child, her voice barely above the noise. "He wants to help." Before the crowd could respond, a piercing scream rang out from behind them. Panic spread as a figure stumbled, clutching their arm, drawing attention away from Jack. "What happened?" someone shouted while others rushed over. A sense of dread creeping back over the group. Jack's instincts kicked in. This was about to get chaotic again. Moving toward the commotion, he turned to Mia with urgency. "Stay right here," he warned, then plunged into the fray, determined to put his words into action. But was it enough? As he reached the hurt figure, his heart raced with adrenaline. He could hear his own thoughts. What if this was how it all fell apart? A single misstep and he could lose everything he had just begun to build. The moment was critical. Jack's next actions could either forge solidarity or send everything crashing down. Would he rise to the occasion when it mattered most? Jack pushed through the small crowd gathering around the fallen figure. He spotted a woman on the ground, her face contorted in pain, cradling her arm as if to shield it from the world. Panic tugged at Jack's insides. He dropped to one knee beside her, the noise of the crowd blurring into a distant hum. "Ma'am, can you hear me?" he asked softly, reaching out to gently grasp her shoulder. Her skin was clammy, her forehead glistening with sweat. She nodded, her breath shaky. "It hurts. I tripped on a rock." Her voice was weak, but her spirit flickered despite the anguish. "Let us get you checked out. Can you stand?" Jack's heart pounded in his chest. He felt the eyes of the crowd on him, weighing his every move. With great care he helped her up, placing her arm around his shoulder for support. "I'm Jack. You're going to be all right. Let us get you to someplace safe." As they made their way with the crowd parting to let them through, whispers echoed in the air. Jack caught glimpses of intrigue and concern. Was this how it all began? A chance to show them he could step up? Turning back toward the throng, he called out, "Does anyone have a phone? We need to call for help." A voice rang out from the back. "I have one." A teenager with wide, anxious eyes stepped forward, fumbling with their device. "Great. Call 911," Jack instructed. He didn't have time to think about the weight of that responsibility. The world around him had shrunk to just him and this woman in need. They settled her against a nearby wall, Jack reassuring her with quiet words. "Help is on the way," he said, trying to mask the tremor in his voice. "What's your name?" "Lila." A soft smile crept onto Jack's face. "Lila, that's beautiful. You're strong, Lila. Just hold tight." As the minutes crawled, Jack could hear murmurs behind him, discussing what they had witnessed. Some expressed admiration, while others remained skeptical. He could feel the tension shift but was terrified of falling short. Would they see him as a fraud once the moment passed? Then from the back of the crowd, Chris stepped forward. "You're doing good, Jack. Just stay with her." Jack looked up, surprised by the acknowledgement. Maybe he was beginning to bridge the gap after all. The urgency propelled his actions, transforming doubt into resolve. "Right. Just breathe, Lila. In and out." When the sound of sirens pierced the air, Lila's eyes widened. Their coming, her relief was palpable. "Yes. You'll be okay," Jack said, glancing over his shoulder as the ambulance pulled up. As the paramedics jumped out, Jack stepped back, letting the professionals take over. He could feel the murmurs grow in intensity. Some shared smiles, others whispered about his readiness to help. But then, as Lila was taken away on a stretcher, he sensed the harmony of the moment slipping away again. Chris, standing just a few paces away, met his gaze. "That was brave, Jack. But this was just one person. You still have a lot to prove." Jack's mind raced. One small victory could easily be overshadowed by all the doubts that still needed addressing. He had stirred some feelings, but could he maintain that momentum? He took a step closer to Chris. "I know that one action doesn't change everything. But it's a start, right?" Chris studied him, still skeptical but showing an inkling of understanding. "Maybe. But don't think we're going to follow you blindly. We want actions, not just words." Jack nodded solemnly. "I promise to show you that trust isn't misplaced. Let us talk more. Let us figure out a plan together." With a slight smile, Chris met his challenge. "We'll see. But you need to step up big time. Jack felt a renewed sense of determination swelling in him. He had opened a small door, but could he push it wider? And just then the crowd started to disperse, leaving him with a mix of anxiety and hope. As he watched Mia walk toward him, she beamed with pride. "Jack, that was amazing," she exclaimed. "Didn't he feel amazing?" "Just confusing," he admitted. "Don't doubt yourself. You took the first step." "Maybe so," he sighed, glancing back at where Lila had been, "but now I need to keep going." What lay ahead felt vast and uncertain, but if he was truly ready to do the work, what could he accomplish? In that moment, as the crowd thinned, Jack felt the weight of possibility clinging to the air. What would tomorrow bring? Would he be strong enough to face whatever challenges awaited him? Jack woke early the next morning, the dawn light creeping through his window. It felt like an invisible hand was pushing at his chest, reminding him of the chaos from the day before, of Lila, the whispers of the crowd, and Chris' admonition about proving himself. He sat up, running a hand through his messy hair, feeling lost in a haze of uncertainty. What was he supposed to do now? The question looped through his mind like a song stuck on repeat. He jumped out of bed and quickly dressed, the urgency stirring a fire inside him. He didn't want to just sit and wonder anymore. He needed to see. As he stepped outside, the cool morning air met him, refreshing yet daunting. If he was going to make a change, he had to start somewhere. He turned left down a familiar path, knowing it led to the park where the town's community activities often unfolded. Maybe there was something he could do here to honor that moment with Lila. The park buzzed with the subtle hum of life. Morning joggers moved past him, their rhythm matching the beat in his own heart. He saw kids kicking a soccer ball, laughing and full of energy, and it sparked a thought: what if he organized something for them? Something that brought the community together, showcased their strengths, and helped him prove he wasn't just a bystander. An event. He whispered to himself, the idea blossoming. It could be a community picnic or a friendly soccer tournament. Everyone could pitch in and he could take the lead. It could be his chance to show not just Chris but the entire town that he meant business. His mind raced as he imagined the details: the games, the food trucks, the laughter. He could see families interacting, neighbors getting to know one another again. This wasn't just about proving himself. It was about bringing people together, and maybe about healing too. Jack chuckled to himself. "Okay, let us do this." He pulled out his phone and began drafting a plan as he made his way to a nearby cafe to grab coffee. He felt electric, his nerves replaced by purpose. Sitting at a corner table, the soft sound of clinking cups and muted chatter filled the air. Every sip of coffee ignited his determination further. "Hey Jack." A familiar voice pulled him from his thoughts. It was Mia, her eyes bright and curious. "I was hoping I'd run into you. I heard about what you did yesterday. You really are inspiring." Jack felt a warm flush across his cheeks. "Thanks, but it was just a moment." She shook her head. "No, it was more than that. Listen, I think you should keep this going. People need leaders right now, someone who cares." The conversation with Mia was exactly what he needed to fuel his idea. "I was actually thinking about organizing something for the whole community. Maybe a picnic? Or even a soccer tournament." Her eyes widened and she leaned closer, a grin breaking her face. "That's a fantastic idea. I'd love to help. I can reach out to some local businesses for food, and we can get the word out on social media." With Mia on his side, Jack felt that fire anew. It wasn't just about himself anymore. If they poured themselves into this event, imagine the impact. A gathering could spark connections, share stories, and perhaps remind those around them that they were all part of something bigger. As they mapped out their ideas, the excitement built in Jack's chest, filling him with hope. They talked about games and decorations and volunteers. He felt a deep sense of belonging for the first time in ages. But just as he was ready to dive into execution, Mia paused, a shadow crossing her face. "Are you sure you're ready for this? I mean, what if people doubt you again?" Jack hesitated, the weight of her words nudging at old fears. "I don't know, but I have to try. If I want to change how people see me, I can't let fear hold me back." And with that, determination surged through him once more. The plan was taking shape, but it wasn't just his own future on the line. It was the future of the community he longed to be part of. With a renewed focus, he concluded, "Let us make this happen. We can show everyone, including Chris, what we're capable of." Could an event really change their perceptions? Jack knew he was stepping into unknown territory, and with each planning session, he felt the shadow of doubt loom over him. Would it get easier? Would people trust him enough? He took a deep breath, ready to face whatever came next as they moved toward their goal. Tomorrow could bring the spark he needed, but he couldn't help but wonder. Would it be enough? As the sun began to rise higher, flooding the cafe with warm light, Jack felt a rush of adrenaline course through him. His mind buzzed with fresh ideas, and the doubts Mia expressed only added fuel to his determination. Let us sketch out a timeline, he suggested, pulling out a notepad. If we want to do this right, we need to plan everything down to the smallest detail. Mia nodded, invigorated. Yeah, we could set a date for the event in a few weeks. That'll give people some time to prepare. Jack scribbled away, the sound of his pen scratching paper almost melodic in the lively atmosphere of the cafe. They structured their plans into actionable steps: secure a location, gather volunteers, and spread the word. It all felt so achievable when laid out clearly, and just like that, the cafe began to transform before his eyes. Their enthusiasm brought a new energy to the space, sparking curious glances from other patrons. Jack noticed a small group nearby whispering, and a pang of anxiety hit him. Had they heard about last night's chaos? Focus, Jack, he muttered under his breath. Mia glanced over, picking up on his distracted demeanor. You okay? Yeah, just thinking about what people might say. What if they go back to seeing me as the guy who froze up? We won't let that happen, she said firmly. Remember the point of this? To show everyone how we can come together? Her words anchored him. Jack took a deep breath. You're right. We're doing this for something good, not just for me. They continued brainstorming, tossing around ideas for activities that would engage the town. Mia suggested a bake-off and a talent show, which excited Jack. The thought of watching neighbors share their skills, their voices filling the air with laughter and songs, made him want to leap from his seat. This was bigger than proving himself. It was about rediscovering the threads that knitted their small town together. Hours faded as they immersed themselves in plans, the cafe buzzing around them. But as they crafted their vision, a wave of fear washed over Jack again. What if it rains? He suddenly asked, feeling the weight of the unpredictability looming ahead. Mia laughed, breaking through his tension. You can't control the weather. Just roll with it. Maybe we move it to the community center if the park gets soaked. We'll figure it out. Jack couldn't help but smile at her optimism. It was refreshing and contagious. Yeah, good point. We'll make it work. Their laughter dissolved the nerves, and soon, they wrapped up their planning session, each detail forming a vision that felt real and thrilling. As the sun dipped lower, casting long shadows across the table, Jack felt a sense of control he hadn't known for a long time. Okay, we meet again tomorrow? Mia asked, pulling out her phone to schedule their next session. We can start reaching out to people. Definitely, Jack replied, excitement bubbling at the thought of what they could achieve together. This is just the beginning. As Mia smiled, they both stood to leave, the weight of possibility spilling around them. But just as they exited the cafe, a gentle ring from her phone drew Mia's attention. Her expression shifted at the screen. What's up? Jack asked, the thrill of the day's plans momentarily disrupted. Mia's face blanched. Is Chris asking to meet? A chill snaked down Jack's spine. Could this be the challenge they anticipated? Would Chris accept their plans? Do you think he wants to talk about the event? He asked, his heart racing with both apprehension and intrigue. Mia shrugged but remained uncertain. Maybe. Or maybe he wants to throw another wrench in your plans. Jack clenched his fists, ready to confront whatever awaited him. What did Chris really want? Would this meeting jeopardize everything they worked for? Or could it turn into an unexpected ally? The tension was thick, and the next chapter felt both daunting and ripe with possibility. He took a deep breath, determined to face whatever came next. What would Chris say? Jack and Mia stepped outside the cafe, the warm air enveloping them. But the excitement of their plans quickly faded as they stood there, the buzzing streets suddenly feeling heavy. Jack glanced at Mia, who darkened with worry. Should we go somewhere private? She suggested, her voice small. Yeah, I think that's a good idea. Jack nodded, his heart pounding. They took a few steps away from the cafe, searching for a quieter spot. The laughter of children on the playground nearby felt distant, as if they were entering another world. Mia found a bench beneath a tree, and they sat down. Jack watched her fingers tremble as she typed a quick response to Chris. The thought of Chris and what he could want gnawed at him. Would this be a confrontation? Maybe even a manipulation? She finished typing and looked up at Jack. He wants to meet at the park in 30 minutes. Guess he doesn't waste time. Right, Jack muttered, feeling a lump in his throat. He was a mix of dread and determination. I just hope he understands what this means for the town. I'm sure he'll hear you out. Just remember your plans. You have so much good to offer, Mia said softly, her sincerity cutting through his anxiety like a knife. Yeah, I know. But his voice was shaky. They had put their hearts into this. If Chris rejected it or turned it into a mockery, it could crush everything. A silence stretched between them, and Jack could hear distant shouts from the playground. Pure joy that felt worlds away. Do you think he sees us as a threat? He pondered aloud, worried Chris would view their efforts as undermining his authority. Mia shook her head. He just doesn't understand the power of community. Maybe you can show him. Just as the words left her mouth, Jack felt a flicker of hope accompanied by a wave of courage. Maybe all it takes is one conversation. But even as he aimed to believe that, doubts slipped in. What if Chris laughed at their ideas? What if he belittled their efforts? What if he is so entrenched in his own world that he can't see the good in us? Then you'll just have to break through to him, Mia replied. You know what you want to do. Keep fighting for it. She wasn't just speaking to Chris anymore. Her words reinvigorated Jack, wrapping around him like a warm blanket against the chill creeping in on his resolve. I won't give up, he said, firm. I love that. Just remember to be yourself, Mia encouraged, her eyes brightening. They took a moment. This wasn't just about Jack anymore. It was about a community coming together. An opportunity to reshape their small town into something greater. After a beat, Jack stood up, the adrenaline igniting his energy once more. We should head over. I want to take control of this meeting before Chris does. As they walked toward the park, Jack couldn't shake the feeling of impending confrontation. But he also felt a surge of clarity. He had always wanted more for his community, and now was the time to prove it. When they neared the park, the sight of Chris pacing under the trees filled Jack with trepidation. Could he really convince someone who thrived on power to see things differently? Just remember, Mia whispered, sensing the tension, you have something important to say. Jack took a deep breath, heart racing, and stepped closer. Let us do this. As he approached Chris, the eyes around them seemed to narrow in on him, ready for whatever twist the next moments would bring. What would Chris's response be? Would he step into the light? Or would he cast shadows on their dreams? Jack's pulse quickened as he reached Chris. The park, with its blooming flowers and chirping birds, felt like a stage, and he was the lead actor ready to confront his antagonist. Chris looked up, his expression a mix of surprise and skepticism. Jack, he said, his tone dismissive. What brings you here? Actually, I wanted to talk about the future of our community, Jack began, forcing his voice to steady. The words felt heavy, laden with hope and apprehension alike. Is this about the proposal you and Mia have been working on? Chris asked, crossing his arms. The way he leaned back a bit too far suggested he wasn't expecting Jack to challenge him. Yes, it is. I believe we can really make an impact if we work together. Jack's mind raced. He needed to keep Chris engaged, to show him that this wasn't just some pipe dream. It's not just about what I want. It's about what the town needs. A town needs order, not some emotional ideas from well-meaning kids, Chris interjected. Jack's heart sank, but he pressed on. Order can stifle growth. There's a way to find balance, Chris. You've done great things, but we can do more together. Jack stepped closer, sensing his heart beating louder with each passing second. The playground laughter surrounded them, a stark contrast to the tension that crackled between him and Chris. Mia watched from a distance, her hands clasped, sending silent encouragement. Jack met her gaze, drawing strength from her unwavering belief in him. Okay, enlighten me, Chris replied, a smirk creeping across his face. What exactly do you think can change? Jack took a deep breath. He had rehearsed this moment, but now the words felt foreign. There's a hunger in the town, a desire to connect, to feel involved. We can create community gardens, music events, local markets. something to bring us together. Each idea felt like a flicker of light against Chris's cynical demeanor. A community garden? Chris scoffed. That sounds adorable. But what's the profit in it? He leaned in, his voice dropping. Look, you can't just throw pretty ideas at a businessman. Jack's resolve trembled, but didn't break. It's not about profit, Chris. It's about pride. Pride doesn't pay the bills, Chris snapped, his irritation creeping toward anger. No, but it builds a foundation. When people take pride in their community, that's when real change happens. They invest in it emotionally, and that makes all the difference, Jack said, feeling the urgency of his own words. Imagine a town where people thrive, where families want to move back. Isn't that worth something? Chris's expression shifted slightly. Jack could see a flicker of something behind those hardened eyes. For a moment, the power of Jack's words seemed to penetrate the defenses Chris had built around himself. People will want to feel like they matter, Jack pressed. If you leverage your influence to support our community efforts, think of the legacy you could leave. Not just wealth but respect. Chris paused, his bravado faltering. Jack saw doubt intermingle with curiosity, the gears of a mind used to authority now considering an alternative view. But would it be enough to spark change? Before Chris could respond, a sudden shout erupted from the playground. A child had fallen and was crying. For a brief moment, their conversation halted, the urgent need for connection made tangible in that little voice. What do you think we should do? Jack asked, his eyes darting between Chris and the child, hoping to draw Chris into the reality of community that needed them both. Chris looked at the child, then back to Jack, his face a mask of indecision. I don't know. Wait here. Jack watched as Chris's expression shifted, unaware of the pivotal moment unfolding. Would this be the moment they could start to build something better? The air crackled with uncertainty, a feeling Jack couldn't quite grasp. What if it all hinged on this one fleeting moment? As Chris approached the crying child, Jack held his breath, heart racing. Could this be the turning point he desperately needed? What would Chris discover about himself and about their community amidst the simplicity of a child's needs? The stakes had never felt higher. Chris hurried over to the child, who was still weeping. Jack watched from a distance, holding his breath, the pulse of hope thrumming through him. He observed Chris kneel beside the little girl, a scene so simple yet profound. Hey there, Chris said softly, his voice taking on a gentler tone. What happened? The child sniffed, wiping away her tears with a dirty sleeve. I felt I was playing. Jack marveled at the transformation. Chris, who seemed rigid just moments before, was now embodying compassion. Maybe, just maybe, this was their moment to bridge the divide. As Chris comforted the child, Jack felt a bubble of encouragement form in his chest. You're brave, Chris said, brushing dust off the girl's knees. These things happen, but you'll be all right. Just take a moment. The child nodded, shifting her weight as she slowly started to calm down. In that small space, Jack sensed something shifting in Chris, a thawing of his barriers. He could see it on the faces of the witnessing parents, their skepticism giving way to curiosity. Jack stepped forward, determined to seize the moment. See, Chris? This is what community is about. It's about being there when it counts, lifting people up. Chris stood up and looked at Jack, surprise dancing in the corners of his mouth. You're going to make me a softie at this rate, he quipped. But Jack didn't miss the sincerity hidden beneath the joke. Maybe, Jack replied, a smile breaking across his face. But that softness is what can make a true leader. It's about connecting with the people who need you. The little girl, once lost in her fears, now smiled at Chris. That simple act of kindness blossomed into something larger: hope, connection. They both watched her, seeing how easily she poured out her heart. Trust is fragile, Chris muttered almost to himself, but maybe there's something to this. Jack's heart leapt. Was Chris beginning to understand? Let us work on building that trust together, Jack offered, unable to hold back. You have so much influence. Let us invest in this community. Chris hesitated, his mind clearly working through the implications. And if it fails? Then we learn and try again, Jack insisted. The depth of conviction burned within him, fueled by his desire to carve a path for change. But we won't fail if we lead with heart. Chris's eyes met Jack's, and Jack could see the deliberation, the realization. This was no longer just about running a business or saving face. It was about building something lasting. Let us start with the picnic your event, Chris finally said, his tone sincere. Let us see where it leads. Jack felt breathless, electrified. Really? Yeah. If you're really sincere about this, I'll help pull some strings. Mia, who had been anxiously waiting nearby, caught Jack's eye, her face a mixture of disbelief and joy. Jack approached her, almost floating on air. Can you believe it? Mia's face broke into a radiant smile. You did it, Jack. You convinced him. Together, Jack corrected, grinning. Together we did this. The sense of triumph was addictive as they turned to Chris, who was now surveying the playground, his expression contemplative and empowered. This moment, Jack mused, could be the beginning of something beautiful, an alliance framed around compassion, determined to uplift the spirits of their community. As the trio began discussing plans for the picnic, vibrant ideas flowed. Activities, games, food mighty enough to turn the tide and transform the atmosphere that hung over the town. What's the date? Chris asked, moving into planning mode with excitement clearly bubbling beneath his calm facade. Jack quickly chimed in. Let us make it in 2 weeks. That gives us ample time to gather volunteers and plan everything. Chris nodded. I can handle logistics. Leave the resources and coordination to me. With that, a sense of unity began to weave through the air, stitching together a community that had felt so fractured for too long. Days turned into nights as they worked tirelessly, the newfound partnership between Chris, Jack, and Mia breathing life into the plans. As the day of the event approached, Jack couldn't shake the anxious excitement gripping him. Would anyone show? Would they really see the magic of their hard work? On the morning of the picnic, Jack woke up early, nerves twisting in his stomach. He dressed quickly and headed out to the park, where the organized chaos was already in full swing. Colorful banners flapped in the breeze, and the scent of grilled food wafted in the air. Families began to gather and children raced across the field, laughter filling the atmosphere. Jack and Mia worked side by side, setting up games and preparing the food stands. As their peers came together, an infectious energy passed between them. Jack felt exhilarated, knowing they were bringing something special to life. Finally, as the sun reached its peak overhead, Chris stood at the podium, heart pounding from nerves. Welcome, everyone, he called out, a microphone in hand. Today is about togetherness, about being proud of our community, and about supporting one another. Cheers erupted from the crowd, vibrant and alive. Watching Chris now, Jack realized he had transformed. They had transformed together in words and in action. As the festivities burst into full swing, Jack saw people laughing, dancing and sharing stories. Each smile felt like a victory, each connection a thread woven into something greater than themselves. After the speeches, they shifted into games and contests, and for Jack, each laughter echoed the promise they had all made to stand together. As night approached, a brilliant sunset spilled over the horizon. Families huddled together, and the joy that lit the park glowed like fireflies. Jack looked around and spotted Mia, bubbling with enthusiasm, her beaming smile reflecting his newly expanded heart. We did it, she exclaimed, a glimmer of pride in her eyes. We transformed this place. He turned, taking in the kaleidoscope of life before him. No, Mia. We're just getting started. The warmth of community wrapped around him, and he felt hope flourish, knowing the road ahead was bright with potential. With unity, love, and hard work, they could conquer anything. This moment was just a glimpse of the magic they could manifest together. What lay ahead was limitless, and they would chase that magic side by side. Now is the time for you to join this journey. Subscribe immediately to the channel to not miss the next exclusive stories. Leave a like now to feed the algorithm and show us your support. Comment below with your reactions and feelings about this heartfelt ending. And don't wait not even one more second to share this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this transformation. Remember, only true fans understand the importance of supporting the channel through these actions.